Hey, hello guys. So we are back with the eighth lesson on this series. We are going to solve the hard questions on the SAT suite, right? Targeting the digital SAT. So before you actually write the test, you should definitely solve these questions. If you get stuck, go through these videos. Okay. First try, then go through the video. So now this question says that fx is given as something, and gx is f of x minus 1. Now the graph of gx has intercepts ABC. What is the value of a plus b plus c? So now if fx is x plus 6 times x plus 5 times x plus 1. Okay, let's just keep it simple. So gx would be f of x minus 1, means in place of x, just plug in x minus 1, right? So just do that. So this will be x minus 1 plus 6 times x minus 1 plus 5 times x minus 1 plus 1. So gx becomes x plus 5 times x plus 4 times x. So it says that the graph of gx has x-intercepts at a, b, and c. X-intercept means the y is 0. So if gx is 0, so y is 0, then my x values would then be negative 5, negative 4, and 0 itself. So that means A is negative 5, B is negative 4, and C is 0. All right. Because ABC are the intercepts. So here the intercepts are negative 5, negative 4, and 0. So those are the values. They're saying what is the sum? So the sum clearly is negative 9. So that is option B. Let's go to the next one. So it says A, C plus D. Then they're saying which of these is this expression. So if I want to simplify it, see this part, if I take out the negative common, straight away becomes C plus D whole square. And C plus D we know is A. So the answer is x squared minus A squared, which can again be factorized as x minus A times x plus A. So that would be option C. Okay. Alternatively, you could have also done is if you, let's say, did not observe this, you just assume some values. Let's say you take C as 1, D as 2, that gives us A as 3. So the question now becomes x squared minus c squared minus 2cd minus d squared. So it is x squared minus 9, okay, which is x minus 3 times x plus 3. Now plug in a equal to 3 in these and see which one works. Obviously, this one clearly works. So plugging in values can be a good way of solving this as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. So here we have hx to be, it's a cubic. The function is defined above. ABC are integers. The zeros are these three. So the zeros are these three means hx can be written as x minus minus 5 times x minus 6 times x minus 7. And that is the same as x cubed plus ax squared plus bx plus c. We do not take any coefficient here. We keep it as 1 because it is shown here that x cube has a coefficient 1 as well. Okay. So we can just keep 1 for the coefficient in hx. Now, since we are interested in finding out the value of c, and we know that c is the y-intercept, so what we'll simply do is figure out what is h of 0. H of 0 here in this part, if I plug in x as 0, I'm going to get h of 0 is equal to 1 times 0 plus 5 times 0 minus 6 times 0 minus 7 will be equal to 0 plus a times 0, which is 0 plus 0 plus c. So clearly what we end up is 42 times 5, so that's 210 is equal to c. So the answer is 210. All right, next. So we have this exponential function 90,000 times 1.06 to the power t. And which of the following best models the population M months? Now T is in years. We are looking at months. So obviously 12 months is 1 year. So here if I want 1 year later, my answer should be 90,000 times 1.06. To get this value, I would need to plug in M as 12 here. So plugging in N as 12, we have to check which option becomes this. So if you look clearly, this is 90,000 by 12. So that's completely not the correct answer. Definitely not the right answer. This is 1.06 by 12. So that's gone. This is 1.06 by 12 to the power 1, which is not what we want either. This one satisfies. 12 by 12 becomes 1. So you get 90,000 times 1.06. So that's the answer. Option D. All right, let's go on to the next. So the population is 50,000, estimated to increase 3% each year. So that means the expression should become this times 1.03 to the power t. So it says which of the equations can be used to find out the number of years t, because it is increase each year, right? So that's t. So how many years it will take for the population to become 60,000? So this equal to 60,000. That is our expression that we need. So this one is the correct option. 60,000 is equal to 50,000 times 1.03 to the power t. Right? Because 3% increase means 103%. So it's 103 divided by 3. So that is 1.03. Okay, next. So for the exponential function f, the value of f1 is k. Which of the following forms of the function shows the value k as the coefficient or the base? Okay. So that means f1 is k, right? That means when you plug in x as 1, I should get y as k. Okay. So they're asking which of the following forms of the function shows the value of k as the coefficient or the base. So if I were to plug in x as 1 here, I'm going to get f of 1 is 50 times 2 to the power 1 plus 1. That means I have to take out a 2 and write it as 100 times 2 to the power 1, right? Because the exponential form of the equation fx is usually what? I mean, how do you write? A times something to the power x, right? Not x plus 1 or x plus 2 and stuff. So then this does not show. Okay. So this is not the right answer. Here, if I look at it, f1 would be 80 times 2 to the power 1. Okay. That is f of 1. But this 80 is what? To get 80, so this is 160, right? F of 1 is 160. This is my k. Okay. Is 160 visible anywhere? That is the idea. Okay. That is the question. So 160 is not visible here, right? What do they want? Focus on the question carefully. They want you to find out the value of k to be the coefficient or the base. What is that value of k? It is f1. So that means the value of f1 should be visible. So for example, if you were to just explaining once more, if I were to figure out for the first one, f of 1 comes out to be what? 50 times 2 square. So that's 200. Is 200 visible as a coefficient or as the base? No. So this is not right. The same reasoning works here, that f1 comes to 160. That is your k. The 200 was my k here. Here 160 is my k. Why is k is 160? Because f1 is given to be k, right? And I want k to be visible. So that's not working out because 160 is not visible. Here, if I want to do f1, I would get 128 times 2 to the power 1 minus 1. So that's 128. 2 to the power 0 is 1. So is 128, which is f1, but meaning this is k, right? Is 128, which is k, visible in the equation? Yes, 128 is visible as a coefficient. That's the correct answer. Okay. So this is what they were asking in this. So you have to read the question carefully and understand and then answer. Okay. Let's do the next question. So here we have x and fx, an exponential function. So it says that k is a constant. Okay. Fk is a to the power 29. So they're saying what is k? So for some value of k, you will get a to the power 29. You have to predict that value. Okay. So as you can see, whenever x increases by 1, this becomes multiplied with a to the power 4. So if I were to just continue that, 3a to the power 9, increase by 1, increases by 4, increase by 1, increases by 4, increase by 1, increases by 4, increase by 1, increase by 4, increase by 1, increase by 4, we have it. So k must be 8. Alternatively, if you don't want to do all this, we can figure out what the equation could be. Okay. If x, since you have a to the power 4 getting multiplied every time, okay, so there has to be a to the power 4 somewhere times a constant, okay, x times some constant. Because that is how, when you increase x by 1, so if x becomes 1 more, okay, it will become multiplied with a to the power 4 again. But then there will be some constant here, okay? Some, let's say some c or a, okay? Not a, but let's take some other variable, let's say c, some constant. But then x is 1 should give me fx as a. So if x is 1 and I need f of 1 to be a, that means what I'm getting is c times a to the power 4 is a. So c should be 1 by a cube. So my function basically becomes a to the power minus 3 times a to the power 4 whole to the power x. So now if I just try to see whether this really works, okay, if I plug in x as 1, what do I get? A to the power 4 times a to the power minus 3. So that's a, okay. If I plug in x as 2, what do I get? A to the power 8 minus 3, 5. Yes, okay. If I plug in 3, so then 4 3 is a 12. 12 minus 3 is 9. Yes. I want to find, so therefore fk would be what? A to the power minus 3 times a to the power 4 whole to the power k. That is a to the power 29. So divide by this a to the power minus 3. So basically multiply a cube on both sides. So we will get a to the power 4k equals a to the power 32, equating the exponents, k is 8. But then this is a much more complicated way of solving a simple question, which you could have just done by listing down some of the values. Because when you are going in gaps of 4, it doesn't take much time to reach 29, right? So I would suggest this to be a better way than doing all this. So the answer, by the way, is 8. Let's go to the next question. So they have given some function here. Looks kind of like a reciprocal function. Okay, so that's what the options are also saying. But then now this is the rational function f defined by fx is shown here. The partial graph of y equal to fx is shown. So this is the graph of fx. Okay. Now gx is f of x plus 4. What is the function? So one long way of doing this is figuring out what is the function first. Okay, fx. So since fx they have given in this form, a over x plus b, we can do is maybe let's say plug in negative 10 x and getting y as negative 1. So negative 1 equals a over negative 10 plus b. That's number 1. And then pick another point, let's say negative 7 for x getting negative 2. So negative 2 is a over negative 7 plus b. That's number 2. And we solve these, figure out what is a, what is b. So that will give us fx. From there, I can now find out gx because I have to just replace x with x plus 4. And then that will be the answer. Let's do it, okay, because this is not what we'll eventually do. I'll give you a much shorter way. So if I were to solve these, so from the first one, I'm getting A equals 10 minus B. So we have A equals 10 minus B from here. And here I'm getting A equals 14 minus 2B. So equating these two, 14 minus 2B equals 10 minus B. I get B equal to 4. And hence A becomes 10 minus 4, 6. So my function fx becomes 6 over x plus 4. So gx, which is f of x plus 4, means we have to replace x plus 4 for that. It will be 6 divided by x plus 4 plus 4. So it is 6 over x plus 8. And that would be the answer, option C. But then this is like just too long, right? We don't have so much time to do this sort of a computation. So let us look at a quick answer to this. We don't need to figure out what is fx. So what we do is we just pick some point, okay? Ensure that since gx is f of x plus 4, make sure you don't pick x to be, let's say, 4, minus 3, minus 2 or such values, because those values can't be read, okay? Pick some value, let's say x as minus 10. Just pick x as negative 10. We know that f of negative 10 is minus 1, right? Now, since gx is f of x plus 4, and let us say I want to get minus 10 here, that means x plus 4 is minus 10. So that means x should be negative 14. So g of minus 14 should be f of minus 10. Right? If x is negative 14, negative 14 plus 4. And f of minus 10 is minus 1. So what we have is g of negative 14 to be minus 1. Let's just plug in here. First option, negative 14 here will be 6 over negative 14. That's not minus 1. This would be 6 over negative 10. Negative 14 plus 4 is negative 10. That's not minus 1 either. This is 6 divided by negative 14 plus 8. So 6 over negative 14 plus 8. So that's 6 over negative 6. So that is minus 1. But let's just verify this one also. This is actually cancelling on and becoming 6. So that's wrong. So the answer is just option C. It's much more simple solution by picking values from the graph. See, when a graph is given, try to use those values from the graph and try to see whether you can figure out a shorter way. All right, let's move on to the next. So this one is talking about a table, views on nuclear energy use, strongly favored and somewhat favored and all that. So a researcher reviewed 411 randomly selected residents and their views were noted above. So that means this adds up to 411. Now if the population were 300 million and this is randomly selected. So that means whatever result you got here can be approximately related to or linked to the 300 million, okay? Can be scaled up in that sense. Based on the sample, what is the best estimate in the difference between the number of residents who somewhat favor, so somewhat favor or strongly favor the use? Who somewhat favor or strongly favor. So these two, so this is or, okay? So note difference between, they're saying difference between two things. What two things? Somewhat favor or strongly favored means you need to add. And difference between this and this, what and what? Somewhat oppose or strongly oppose. Somewhat oppose or strongly oppose means this you add. And here you take difference. This is what they are interested in, okay? So strongly favor, somewhat favor. In this case, it's if you add up, adds up to 270. Okay, this adds up to 270, and this adds up to 141. So their difference is 129. So what we now have is if the total is 411, the required answer is 129. So if you have 411, then the difference is 129. So if you have 300 million, your difference will be 129 upon 411 times 300 million. So for this, definitely use a calculator because we anyways need to have a perfect answer. So I'm using one now. That's 129 divided by 411. multiplied with 300, so 94.16. So then round your answer to the nearest whole number. So that's basically, by the way, this is million. This is million. So that's 94 million. You have to answer in millions only. What is the best estimate in millions? So you don't have to put the zero. So it's just 94 million. So your answer is 94. So you should not do what is convert each term into a multiple out of 300 and then do this calculation. That would be a lot of calculations. Okay. First do the addition, subtraction stuff, get the value, and then just relate out of 300 it's going to be how much. All right, let's move to the next question. So this Jennifer bought a box of some cereal. The nutrition fact says that a serving size of the cereal is 3/4 cups. Okay. That provides 210 calories, 50 of which are from fat. The rest are from something else. In addition, each serving, so one serving, this is one serving, is 3/4 cup, which is all of this. And also it provides 180 milligrams of potassium. Okay, it's potassium. Let's write potassium, which is 5% of the daily allowance. This 180 milligrams is 5% of the daily need, daily allowance. Okay. Now, what is it saying? If P% of the adult's daily allowance is potassium, okay, P% of the allowance of potassium is provided by X servings. So that means if one serving gives you 180 milligrams, which is like 5%, then X servings is definitely going to give you 5X percent. But this 5X percent of the daily allowance is P% of the daily allowance. Okay. So that means we have is what? 5X equals P. So what are they saying? Which of the following expresses P in terms of X? So P is 5X. So that is the second option. All right, so you have to read this very carefully. All of this information of 3/4 cup, 210 calories, 50 calories from fat are completely useless. 180 milligrams is also useless. What we just need to know is one serving gives 5%. So X servings give 5X percent. But you are saying that's P%, so P must be 5X. All right, let's go to the next one. So some subscriptions are shown. The manager of an online news service sees this, estimates that the percentage increase from 12 to 13 would be double of from 13 to 14. How much in 2014? So let's figure out how much is the percentage increase here. So the increase is clearly 280, right? 5880 minus 5600 is 280 over the initial value times 100. So that's 5%. So what you are saying is that the percentage increase from here to here is double of from here to here. Means here the increase should be 2.5%. So the value that we need is going to be 102.5% of 5880. So just use a calculator for this. Doesn't make sense not to. So we have 5880 times 1.025. So that's 6027. So that is option B. All right, let's go to the next question. So some blood type, rhesus factors AB, O, and plus minus is given. As the table shows the distribution of this. If one of these people who is R negative, so that means here. So that's this line that we are looking at. One of the people who is R negative is chosen at random. The probability that the person has blood type B is 2. So the total here is 7 plus 2 is 9 plus 1, 10, 10 plus x. So out of 10 plus x, 2. So probability would be 2 upon 10 plus x. And that is 1/9. So we have 10 plus x equals 18. So x is 8. So be very careful about what is the total base that you need. Okay. So it's clearly saying that if a person who is R negative, so that means you have to only look at this line, not the entire. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. So data set A consists of 10 numbers less than 60. Okay, so we have all of these which are less than 60. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. There is one more. The list shows 9 from the data set. The mean of these is 42. They have already given you the average of these 9 numbers. So that's good. That means the total of these, you don't need to actually add. It's just 9 times 42. And let's say one of the other numbers is x. So they're saying that the mean of all of them, all 10, is an integer greater than 42. So 9 times 42 is 378 plus x divided by 10 has to be greater than 42. Now, since the average is already 42 here for these 9, clearly x has to be greater than 42 for sure. Only then the average is going to go up. But then the other thing is you have to ensure that this is an integer. They have mentioned that the mean of the dataset A is an integer. Now, once you're dividing by 10, on top you must have a multiple of 10. Now, since it's 378 here, so the x must be something that ends in 2 in the units place. So like a 42, 52, 62, etc. But we just now said that x has to be greater than 42, right? Because you already have an average 42. If you add another 42, the average remains 42. So 42 is not possible. And all the numbers are less than 60. So 62 is not possible. That leaves you with only one option, 52. So they're saying what is the value of the largest integer? Now, clearly, none of these are in the 50s, right? All of them are lower. The largest integer is 52 itself. So that's the answer. All right, let's move on to the next question. So here this one says that the dot plots represent the distributions of values in sets A and B. Okay. They are asking you which one is true, whether the median is equal or the standard deviation are equal, etc. Okay. So how do you solve this? Remember a very nice little trick in these dot plots. Do you see any line of symmetry? Like in A, clearly this is a line of symmetry. Why? If you were to fold this image about this line, the left side, right side are perfect matches. Okay, the left and the right are perfect matches. This is a line of symmetry. And here also the same thing is observed. It's a line of symmetry. The left side and right side about this dotted line is the same. If you see a line of symmetry, if you see a line of symmetry, then that line of symmetry is the mean and also the median. That means in this case, for A, the median is 13, and for B also the median is 13. In fact, that is also the mean for A, though we are not really we are not been asked for that. So both are 13. So clearly the median of A and B are equal. If you want to compute, you can do that. So figure out how many values there are. So first of all, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2s are 14 plus 3, 17 values. 17 values. So the median value would be 17 plus 1, 18 over 2, the ninth value. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one, 13. Same thing you will observe for B as well. That's done. Now for the standard deviation. So now that we know that that dotted line itself is the mean, and standard deviation measures like how far away you are from the mean. If you compare the two graphs, look, these 4 points are exactly same way positioned from the mean. So they would not contribute to any difference in standard deviation. Again, the same thing is valid for these 4. The same thing is valid for these 2 and these 2. They are all identically placed. The only difference is this value and this value, which were equal to the mean, that means not deviated from the mean at all. That means that would have contributed to lowering the standard deviation. When it goes to set B, they have moved outwards. That means they have increased the gap. Whether the increase is on one side or the increase on either side doesn't really matter because the gap has to be squared. So irrespective of, you can't say that there's a positive and a negative gap will cancel out. That's not how standard deviation works. If there is a gap, it will increase, it will account for an increase. So for set A to B, the gaps have increased for two values. They have gone further away from the mean. So that means the standard deviation in B would be higher. So 2 is wrong because it says they're equal. Okay, B is in fact higher. The standard deviation of B is bigger than standard deviation of A. Easy way of saying this is since the distributions were not the same, you can straight away say that 2 is wrong. Okay. But then if there was a comparison question which say that, okay, B is higher than A, that would have become true. Okay. So for this particular question, only one is true. So the answer is A. Let's move on to the next question. So this one's saying that you have two data sets A and B. And now data set A is shown here, B is shown here. As you can see very clearly, if you just were to shift data set A at this side, you would get B, isn't it? So now let's read what it is saying. There are 23 values. They are all integers. That's important. You don't have fractional values, decimals. So now each of the histograms, the first interval represents a frequency greater than or equal to 10, but then less than 20. So that means this one is equal to 10 will be counted, but 19, because we need to go less than 20 and we are looking at integers. So this is basically 10 to 19. 10. So we'll write that. That's 10 to 19. This is 20 to 29, 30 to 39, and this is 40 to 49. And similarly for this one, it would be 20 to 29 and so on. That's how the data is. Now they are saying, what is the smallest possible difference between the mean of the two sets? Now for this, we'll use a simple concept. If you have a set of numbers like A, B, C, let's say the mean of this is M. If I were to add or subtract the same constant, let's say I'm adding 1 to each, the mean will also become M plus 1. Whatever you add, if you add the same thing, the mean also increases by the same. If you subtract, then mean also reduces by the same thing. So this is what we are going to use for this. So now to make the difference the shortest, and see set A has higher values, right? To make the difference the shortest, the smallest rather, we'll have to make, so we need to do A minus B least. For that, what we will do is we'll take least possible value of A and subtract the highest possible value of B. That's how A and B will be closest, small gap. Now for the least possible value of A and the highest possible value of B, what we will do is for A, we will assume all these 10 values are 20 because 20 is inclusive. Here all are 30, here all are 40, here all are 50. Whatever be the average, if that is, let's say A or let's say M, for B, we will do the highest. So here I cannot take 20 because then as I said that this is not inclusive of 20, right? So it is 19. So we'll take 19, we'll take 29, we'll take 39, and we'll take 49. All of them. You see, every term is one less. So all those three terms here, which were 20, 20, 20, now are 19, 19, 19. 30s have become 29. Every time it is one smaller. So that means the mean of B will also be one smaller. So the difference is going to be 1. And that's the smallest difference you can make. So that is option B. All right. So there is actually no calculation that has to be done. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. So this one says two different teams consisting of 10 members ran a race, etc., etc. The mean. This is the mean of A and this is the mean of B. Clearly, the mean of B is higher than that of A. Which of the following is true? It says every member of A completed in less time than B. No, that's not necessary. There might be that all of members of A took 1 minute and there was one which took some 100 minutes, something like that. That increased the mean to 3.4. So we can't say anything about the median just by the mean. So that's out as well. Now, if you look at the third one, that has to be true because none of these is not there. There is at least one member of B who took more time to complete. Yeah, obviously. Because if that were not true, that means every member of B was, took fewer time, means was faster than A and took less time, then obviously B's average would also be less than A, which is not the case. That means there must have been at least one such guy and B who was slower, took more time than the member of A. So 3 has to be true. So that is option A. All right. Let's move on to the next question. So it says some values are there. Set A has frequency, set B's frequency is there. There are 27 values. All right. So that means this total would be 27. Observe that the values are the same. It's just reverse 97542, 97542. Which of the following compares the mean? So now for A, if you look, the smaller values have smaller frequency, the higher value has a high frequency. That means as you are going to higher values, the frequency also increases. So that means you have more values, more terms of big values. That will increase the mean of A. While B is just the opposite. You have more of smaller values. That will pull the average down. So mean of B is going to be smaller. So A is higher than B. It's obvious here. So the mean of A is greater than the mean of B. So that is option A. So don't waste time in calculating these things. Try to see by observation. Most of these questions can be done by observation. So whenever you see a question like this, don't go by your first instinct that okay, let's jump to a calculation. So 30 times 2 plus 34 times 4, that's going to be huge. Okay, don't do it. See the pattern, see the understand the logic, and then solve. It will be faster. All right, so let us stop here for now. We'll come back with the next installment on this soon. Thanks for watching.